The lawyer observed with interest the Marquis's shaking hand.
"Write and tell him I will give his proposition some thought."
"And what, pray, will you do if the situation in Paris worsens, and there is a revolution?"
For a moment the Marquis said nothing, just stared fixedly at the candle.
"That is inconceivable," he said at last. "The king will put down any such revolt."
There was a sudden din outside in the corridor. The Marquis ordered Jacques, the butler, to go and investigate. He returned with the Marquis's valet, who could hardly contain his excitement.
"What is going on?"
said the Marquis, standing up.
"Sir," said Luc, "we have just received extraordinary news from Paris. The Bastille has fallen."
"Fallen?" repeated the Marquis.
"What do you mean, fallen?" "The citizens have stormed the fortress. They fired cannons at the wall and brought it tumbling down."
"The Bastille is no more," said Jacques. "The governor and the provost have both been killed. Their heads are being carried through the city on pikes."
He was carried away by his enthusiasm.
"Vive la nation!" he cried.
The Marquis collapsed on his chair. The next morning, the Marquis took his time dressing for an audience with the king at Versailles, making sure that he was properly wigged and powdered. He had decided to wear his finest dusty pink silk brocade coat, embroidered with small diamonds. Finally, dressed and perfumed and meeting with his own personal approval, he called for the lawyer. He was an imposing sight as he looked down his curved, aristocratic nose at Maître Tardieu.
"I have decided to agree to the Count's request," he announced. "I see much that is agreeable in this marriage, and leave it to you to discuss terms. You may inform her of my decision."
He walked out to his waiting carriage, passing the footmen who stood lined up like toy soldiers, and was helped up inside, his coat rearranged with much fuss, so that he would not arrive creased. Maître Tardieu stood on the gravel, silent and watching. He wondered if foolish men ever became wise. The Marquis, only half looking at him, said peevishly,
"You have not noticed the buckles on my shoes. What say you to their elegance?"
The lawyer stared down at them, baffled. The Bastille might have fallen. France might be standing on the brink of civil war, but all the Marquis could think of was buckles. Maître Tardieu had sent Sido a message that he wanted to see her. Now he saw before him an anxious-looking young girl, with large blue eyes, dark hair, and pale porcelain skin. It made the Count's letter, and what he had to impart, all the more distasteful.
"I wish I had happier news for you, mademoiselle," he said, "but I have not. I think it is best if you read this yourself."
And he handed her the black letter. Sido, unlike her father, needed no explanation. Her response was immediate. "I can't marry him." Maître Tardieu sighed.
"I greatly regret it, but your father has instructed me to agree to the marriage."
Sido looked again at the 3 words written in red ink. "Do you know what he means by 'remember your wife'?"
"No, alas, I do not."
Sido bit her lip and said, "Why have I no family to advise my father against this ill-judged marriage?" She looked up at the old lawyer, fighting back tears. He suddenly took pity on her.
"You have family in London," he said quickly,
then looked appalled by what had just tripped off his tongue.
"Oh dear. I have always been under strict instructions to say nothing on the matter."
"Where in London?" asked Sido, hardly able to contain her excitement. "How can I find them?"
"I have no idea. I know your mother had a sister who married Englishmen, a Mr. Laxton. She is surely dead by now."
"Why?" asked Sido.
"Because," said the lawyer, floundering, "because the English have a very poor diet."
Sido felt sorry for him. He looked quite exhausted, and his face was grey.
"I must leave. I'm too old to be doing this, too old and powerless to know how to help you. I wish it were not so."
Sido knew it was no good questioning him further. She followed him out to his waiting carriage. "Before you go, may I ask you one last thing? Do you think the revolution might save me, or is it already too late?"
"I think the world we knew has gone," said Maître Tardieu. "What that means, only time will tell."